Or what do you got, Nick?
Yeah,
go.
I noticed a few days ago the chart's back on the board. Can you
The what?
Your pitching chart, your honeycomb on the whiteboard.
The molecular
Yeah.
model?
The honeycomb. I call it a honeycomb.
That is a. Actually, we're probably gonna have a meeting in the morning. That's a catcher's chart that we like to refer to without getting too detailed. It's a model that we use to help catchers with game calling.
Yeah.
So
How is the progress of your catchers this season compared to last?
better. You know, it's an ongoing thing. I think game calling. You know, we're fortunate to have Chris here, which he's has a great veteran perspective on game calling and what he brings to our team, and that filters down to our catchers. But the group of catchers that we have are pretty much the same guys who were in camp last year, right? If you really think of it, they were all here, almost to a man. So they'll go through this session again, but they're learning and getting it, and there's some things that they'll need to improve on moving forward in game calling. But so much of it is about knowing the pitcher, and that's something we talk about all the time. Get to know your guys, know what they can do, and while we play these games, I mean, that's how you find out, is in competition what a pitcher can or cannot do, what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. Don't ask him to do something he can't do. We talk about that in bullpen sessions. I mean, it's wide-ranging education.
So when you instruct them or talk with them about it, how much is it about teaching them how to call a game correctly, or versus how to call a game correctly for your specific pitchers? I mean, is there a
Well, yeah. There's a right way for each pitcher.
Oh.
I mean, there's some generalities for all pitchers, but we think there's a right way for each pitcher.
What have been some of the biggest improvements? Let's start with Tony and Tom specifically. What are some of the bigger improvements?
I think probably just when to throw the fastball. Inside certain counts. I think the fastball location primarily, and a little bit. I think some catchers can get a little bit tricky on the breaking ball, whether they want it. I mean, the backdoor breaking ball and behind the count breaking ball. They can sometimes they, which is great. They have a lot of faith in the pitchers to land certain breaking balls behind the count, which might not be the most ideal thing for the pitcher.
I think you enjoy teaching catchers how to handle pitchers, but I'm sure you have a limited amount of time with them. How much do you think they've gained?
I have more time than you think.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
which I make that a priority. But we're in good hands with Mike and Strittmeyer and Munoz. Aaron Munoz. These guys do a great job with the catchers. But I get involved with the catchers a lot.
Have they gained anything discernible from the veterans that have come through? Just with
I would hope so.
Hannigan and
I would hope so.
Lucroy?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. I think Lucroy, Hannigan last year were invaluable for our guys. Even Hannigan in AAA were with Ben Boom and Vasquez and some of the guys who were there, and Murph, and then the big leagues, same.
We toss around the word veteran qualities a lot, especially when it comes to Iannetta. What specifically do you think he can bring to this group?
Well, first of all, I think he's going to bring a performance, to his game, based on what we saw last year. Played very well last year, and I think that should continue. He's in a good spot physically, mentally, be swinging the bat great. What he did last year with the Diamondbacks, was very solid, and we hope he can bring that. I mean, that's he'll tell you that's the most important thing, right? What you do on the field, but in and around the clubhouse, just his conversations with our pitching staff, with with our position players. There's a leadership component there with Chris. I think there's a steadiness there. There's a poise, there's a calmness, there's a competitiveness that rubs off on all our guys.
How have you seen Tony develop in some of those similar aspects?
Tony Walters?
Yeah.
He's doing better. He's doing better. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, growth and maturity, takes time. But Tony, for me, from last year to this year, strides.
Do you think him being young may help deal with the young pitching staff as well? Obviously, I know you like some but the relationship.
No, a lot of times age doesn't matter. It depends on the person. But Tony, I've been thinking about Tony's. He's very communicative. He likes to talk. He likes to engage, which is which is a good thing. He's not afraid to talk.
With Tony, started off really well last year offensively, actually, and back, things fell down for him. Is it possible there was something physical with him, and were the things you addressed in the offseason, say?
I don't think there was anything physical. No, I mean, he played, he stayed healthy. He was durable. There wasn't, no. Unless you know something I don't know.
No, I was just wondering. Because,
Yeah. No, it's-
the offensive numbers really fell off.
Yeah.
We brought it
No,
up.
he got off to a very nice start. I think, he was hitting, well over 300 for a period of time, and his on-base percentage was high. A lot of early RBIs from Chuck was, due to Tony, and what Tony did at the bottom of the order. So, it's a long year, and that's one of the challenges for players is, to maintain that consistency through the course of the year. And a lot of times with young players, man. You have to set your sights on realizing how long it is, and not that you pace yourself, but you realize that there's a challenge there, mentally and physically.
And I would assume with a catcher, with a young staff, mentally, that has to weigh a lot.
And they got a lot going on. I've said it before. They have to answer to me. They have to answer to the catching coach, pitching coach. 13 pitchers, the hitting coach. They got a lot on them. Those catchers.
Just one last thing about Tony, the way he threw, I mean, at times unorthodox, but he's very effective with it.
Yeah,
you guys got to reach the point where some things you just let Tony be Tony.
Well, you got to. This is he came from a place that's different than most catchers, right? He was a converted infielder. So, there's some strengths that Tony has just from, playing the middle infielder with his footwork and his release that he has an advantage of over maybe a catcher who's been catching his whole life. So, his exchange, his footwork, a little bit different than most catchers. But, he gets the ball out of his glove. He gets it down to second if he's accurate. And, the release times are good. So, I mean, would you teach it how Tony does? Maybe not. But I know that Tony and Mike are working on, some traditional catching principles that will help him over time, as opposed to, some of the things you wouldn't fundamentally teach to a catcher. And he's doing great.
When we talk about the players getting to know each other, how important that is. I was talking to some of the guys and they say they golf and they game. How important is spring training, not only to work on the aspects of baseball, but that chemistry?
Well, in baseball, the 6 weeks down here, it's every day. There's no days off, just like the regular season. And guys are on the field for, long periods of time, in the morning practicing, and then there's a game. We give some guys, some afternoons of not playing, and they have, maybe a little bit of a longer afternoon or evening to get away. And, guys are engaging with each other. So there's camaraderie amongst the group. They're friends. There's groups of guys that do stuff together, and that's part of, I think the beauty of a team sport is, is the bond that guys create, not only at the park, but away from the field. And I think that's important to, here we're at work and we're trying to achieve a goal. Off the field, a lot of those conversations are occurring, but in a more relaxed environment. I think it's healthy. It's great. It's encouraged that these guys hang out together and have fun. They got to live their life, and I think that's goes into all. I think that's all part of a successful performance is being well balanced, and I think our guys do a great job of that.
Sticking with that topic, got a chance to hang out with John, Ferris, and House, and they're really into the Nintendo Switch right now. If you walk through
The Nintendo Switch.
the handheld game Nintendo Switch, and
Love that game.
They were saying that
Is this Fortnite or is this different?
they're playing actually Mario Kart today,
Mario Kart.
but they're saying in terms of where you rank. As far as in gaming, they said you fall in the middle of the pack.
Me?
with them. You would.
I would
That was Ferris's word. That you would fall in the middle of
if
the
I
pack
did play.
if you did play.
I would be a middle of the road player. Well, I don't know because I've never played, but Hey, listen, video games they're happening, right? It's what kids are doing these days, all hours of the night, right? I mean, I'm starting to understand it. It's what they do.
Do you see yourself throughout the season possibly walking by a few of them, hot and heavy with their heads down in the locker, and possibly joining in? And if so, what do you think?
No. I do not see myself doing that. I can see myself maybe stopping and observing, but partaking, no. Because I think this is an acquired skill over time, right? You got to put the time in. And I don't quite have the time to learn how to be a great gamer. Do you game?
No.
You don't?
I play it for like 2 weeks and then I throw it away once I get
Okay, once you get proficient.
proficient or not
Were you a
proficient.
pinball guy?
I did play a little pinball, yes. Never played foosball. I mean, played but wasn't proficient at foosball. He'll edit that.
What's your thought on the return of the bullpen cart?
Is it everywhere? I know it's Arizona.
Yeah,
Hey, I came through an era where there were bullpen vehicles,
Yep.
and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I'm all right with it. I'm a traditionalist at heart, but I'm okay with some of this funny business. I'm okay with it.
Hey, Bud, besides Charlie Blackmon, who in your clubhouse would be good prototypical leadoff hitters?
Talkman, Tapia, Desmond. Those guys come to mind. Potentially Dahl. Hampson. Daza.
Parra hit a lot of leadoff.
Para, potentially.
Is that something you're
Yeah.
considering with this group, Para at the top?
You know who I'm thinking? Para, Daza, Hampson, Desmond, Talkman, Tapia, Blackman. Yeah, all those cats.
Down here?
I'm sorry.
We do that down here with Para?
Potentially, yeah. When he gets healthy, yeah, you might see him lead off.
When a player has raw speed,
Okay.
what kind of goes into channeling him into becoming a base stealer in terms of learning the nuances of how to do that at a successful
Well, the
rate?
most important quality is wanting to steal, right? You have to want to steal to be a good base stealer. You look at all the great base stealers; they had that in them, that they want to steal. No apprehension, aggressive mindset to steal. That's number one. That's imperative. Then becomes an education of how to do it. Jumps, reading the pitcher, being able to get good jumps, reaction, all those things. There's a lot of other subtleties and detailed nuances of it, but those are the number one thing is you have to want to steal a base. Okay, guys, I got to scoot. Good session.